Would I be the asshole if I show my daughter's teacher's Twitch stream to school administration? My daughter is in high school. Last year, she had a younger science teacher, a woman in her mid-20s who hadn't been teaching very long. About halfway through the year, my daughter and her friends found out this teacher was streaming on Twitch. My daughter doesn't know who found the teacher's stream first, but her and her friends started watching and clipping everything the teacher did and saved it all to their phones. I just recently discovered these videos when I grounded my daughter from her phone, and I am shocked, to say the least. First of all, the teacher is streaming as some kind of weird, big-boobed anime character. She is extremely inappropriate, using foul language and also making sexual comments super casually on stream. There are probably 50 different clips I found in my daughter's Snapchat of her teacher doing this. I wasn't sure what any of this was at first, and when I asked my daughter about why she had such weird videos saved, she said, "Mom, we're pretty sure that's Mrs. da-da-da." She has the same voice and everything. This particular teacher left the school at the start of this year, but I found out quickly which school she moved to with a Google search. I want to email administration for her new school and let them know the kind of inappropriate activities this teacher engages in outside of work. I reached out to parents of some of the other kids in my daughter's group chat. Most of them are telling me to leave it alone and let this teacher live her life. But there is one that's on the fence and kind of agrees with my viewpoint here. My daughter and her friends swear the teacher never invited any students to watch her stream and was actually trying to keep it a secret and had a nervous breakdown last year about them harassing her online. And it's why she went and found a new job this year. I know teachers are allowed to have lives and hobbies outside of work, but I just think this is way too inappropriate to go unpunished. She can't just run away from her poor and unprofessional behavior. If she's going to be part of this profession, she should be more mindful of the content she puts on the internet. And I honestly don't think other parents would be pleased to know that their kids have a teacher that shouts loudly on the internet about which anime character she wants to, quote unquote, toss her salad. So, would I be the asshole if I show her new school administration her Twitch account? Am I the asshole for making all the women in my family leave after they all showed up to my wedding wearing white? I, 33 male, have a large family, mostly aunts and female cousins aside from mom, stepmom, stepsister, and grandmother. I don't know how to say this, but all those women I mentioned above are into teasing and joking. They've formed a unit, which I admit is kind of toxic. And they tease and roast every new woman that enters the family by marriage by setting up, quote unquote, tests to see if they deserve to be part of the family, or roast their looks and styles to the point of breaking confidence and self-esteem down. Then, after a few months of teasing, they'd announce that they've finally welcomed them into the family. The newest member would join in on the teasing too, which is crazy, as my dad says. When I first introduced my then girlfriend, now wife, I made it clear that I didn't want any of the women in the unit to come at her or harass her, not even with a single word. They went behind my back and roasted her looks and job, and I discovered they've been doing it on Facebook. I had them apologize one by one after they gave "we're just testing the water to see if she's capable to be part of the family" excuse. They didn't want to apologize, but once I said I wouldn't invite any of the unit unless they apologize, including my mom, everyone immediately apologized and brought gifts for my wife. First of them was my stepmom and my sister-in-law. My wedding was 2 weeks ago. There was talk about the women in the family wanting to pull a prank on my wife by wearing white and called it the ultimate test to see how my wife would react. My brother warned me, so I announced that if any one of them showed up in white, I'd have them kicked out, including my mother. They said this wasn't true and they'd never do such a thing. But they showed up to my wedding one by one wearing white dresses, and each and every one of them was told to leave after they tried giving excuses by either making scenes or getting the men involved. The senior women of the unit, who are mom and aunts, also showed up in white but refused to leave. I threatened to take harsher action, and mom was pissed, telling me to step aside, but I didn't let her in. I had her leave while the men in the family were watching, stunned. Dad was on my side and supported me a lot. I felt absolutely awful because my wedding was being interrupted by them making scenes. My wife was hurt beyond measure, but the women in the family were pissed. My cousin blasted me on social media later, saying I excluded all the women from the wedding because my wife was so insecure she couldn't handle another woman's presence at her wedding. I had an argument with them and mom berated me, saying it was supposed to be a prank. I said they were taking it too far. Mom said I took it too far by kicking them out because they were trying to get a reaction from my wife to see if she was one of those bridezillas and were going to change soon as prank war was over, but I ruined my own and entire wedding by reacting so aggressively. I stopped talking after she said I had to bring my wife and apologize. I haven't seen the lot of them in 2 weeks, and they've excluded me from everything. So, was I the asshole for how I handled this? Am I the asshole for going to stay with my in-laws after my husband told me I shouldn't be here when I tried to surprise him and getting him in trouble with his family? So, my husband travels a lot for business, so we don't get to see each other as often as I would like unless I go with him, which isn't always possible. I found out he was going to be in the country his parents live in, and I thought it would be a nice idea to fly there too, so I could surprise him and see my in-laws as well, since I haven't seen my husband since August and my in-laws since 2019. Well, it didn't go down as I had planned. The first thing my husband said when he saw me was, "You shouldn't be here." And when I asked him what he meant by that, he said that he had a meeting and he was getting late for and left. Honestly, his whole reaction really hurt, since I thought he would be happy to see me since we haven't seen each other in so long. I ended up going to see my in-laws since my sister-in-law was also visiting her parents, and she kept telling me to come over. When I got there, they were much happier to see me, but noticed I was upset about something. They kept asking me, and I told them about how my husband had reacted. My mother-in-law basically told me I would be staying with them for the duration of my visit since he couldn't appreciate me coming all this way to see him. My father-in-law sent him a message telling him to come to their house for dinner since I was here. And when he got here, they basically told him off for how he reacted. Once dinner was over, my husband wanted me to come home with him so we could talk about what happened. But my in-laws kept insisting I stay with them instead, and I ended up choosing to stay with them instead of going home with him. My husband comes over every single night for dinner and is very obviously angry at me still. We did talk about it through text the day it happened, and my husband was mad that I chose to stay and that I ran to tattle to his family. So, am I the asshole? Am I the asshole for spending money I saved for a trip with my dad when he wanted to include his stepdaughter? Back in February, I, 17 female, asked my dad if we could take a weekend trip for Halloween to this haunted house event the two of us had talked about going to before. He said he wasn't sure he could afford it, but if I saved enough money, then we could go. He was going to cover some of it as well. I actually saved up the money by early September and told him as much. He then brought up the subject about how cool it would be to include his stepdaughter, 14, and it would be a nice bonding trip for all three of us. He asked me how I felt about that, and I told him I didn't want to include her. I wanted it to just be the two of us. He asked why, and I told him we never do stuff just the two of us anymore, and I want that time with him. He said I get plenty of time with his wife. I said she's not him, that I wanted more time for him and me, not everyone together, not me and his wife or me and his stepdaughter. He told me okay, it could just be us. Then his wife blabbed because he didn't tell her I had said no. Then his stepdaughter wanted to go, and he told me he couldn't say no to her after that. So I told him to forget it. I bought myself some stuff with the money I had saved. This upset my dad and his wife and his stepdaughter. My dad and his wife told me I responded like a child instead of an almost adult. His stepdaughter said I was so mean, and why would I do that? She was looking forward to spending the weekend with us at the haunted house. I told my dad I saved it for the two of us to go alone, but he has made it clear he doesn't want that time with just me anymore. And since that's how he feels, I am sick and tired of time with his family. That he shouldn't worry because I will be gone soon and he can spend all the time he wants with them, and that the childish and me be living here in a few months. He asked why I couldn't just wait and do something else with him. Why spend the money? Why break the plans like that? It's not the first time I have tried to do something with him and he automatically involved everyone or just his stepdaughter in it. And I even told him I missed hanging out with just him and me. It doesn't do shit. I know his wife is upset because her daughter is hurt because she knows how badly I didn't want her there. And she's also not going now. So, was I the asshole for spending money I saved for a trip with my dad after he wanted to include his stepdaughter?